Yeah, can you put his microphone a little bit more, yeah, with more sound, because it is very, very, thank you. Especially after everybody shouting in the room, suddenly he feels very quiet.
Okay, so Intel Capital is investment arm or venture capital and private equity arm of Intel Corporation. There are many misperceptions regarding what we are and how we invest and why we invest, so I will try to clarify this today. The first question many of you may have is why at all a corporation like Intel decided to become venture capital investor or in early stage technology companies. And the answer is relatively simple. If you take a look at Intel business, Intel is incredibly strong in PC business and in server business with significant market segment share. So in those two businesses, our growth through increasing market segment share is pretty much impossible. So for Intel, the only way to grow in our core businesses is to grow with entire ecosystem. And at the same time, Intel is one of the very few companies that have enough resources and enough expertise and enough on-the-ground presence globally to be able to facilitate development of the entire ecosystem. So our strategic goal can be defined as growing the cake for everyone rather than competing for the existing piece. And you know, it can be illustrated that basically we are investing into anything that one way or another can drive adoption of technology, can drive usage of technology, either by consumers or by enterprises. And this is what we define as strategic relevance of what we do. And of course, the financial aspect of it is very simple. So we are investing like any venture capital investor would. So we are trying to make money on investments. The reason is very simple. Companies that go bankrupt don't help the ecosystem to grow. So every deal we do has to be both financially viable, and from this perspective, we are not different from any typical venture capitalist. On the other hand, it has to somehow make the usage of technology more appealing to either consumers or businesses. In terms of geographies, as you can see, we operate pretty much globally. We have invested in more than 55 countries. Altogether, in the last 20 years, Intel Capital was established 20-something years ago. Over this time, we invested over $11 billion. And this number actually excludes some of the bigger deals. So 11 billion just went into early stage companies. I'm excluding some of the bigger deals, and every year we do one or a couple of sizable deals, like this year Cloudera, which was single investment of $720 million. Those kind of deals are not included in this number. We have offices in 25 countries, and every year we do well over 100 to around 150 or maybe north of 150 deals every year globally. So from this perspective, we believe we are the most active and the most global venture capital investor active in technology space globally. In terms of size of deals we do, one common misperception is that we can only do larger deals. In fact, we can do anything. We have absolutely no limitations, neither on the bottom end nor on the top end. So the smallest deals we do are like $250,000. The biggest deals we do are north of $1 billion. So there is no limitation, and it's also quite understandable. We are investing money straight from Intel's balance sheet, and normally size limitations and stage limitations are a function of the size of the fund. So no fund manager would like to have like 20, 30 companies in portfolio. So typically, a limitation is a function of the size of the fund. You can take the size of the fund, divide it by 10, and more or less you will end up having the desired average deal size by a fund. We don't have this limitation. We can do anything, and regardless of the size, if the technology is interesting, we will be able to fund it. We are trying to be, and we are, very active in supporting our portfolio companies. I would say that our portfolio companies get access to support coming from multiple parts of Intel. And there is no single template, there is no single format of business support that we are providing. It can include marketing support, it can include engineering support, it can include things like optimization of the solution on Intel products. It can include opening sales channels of Intel to products of our portfolio company. One area where our support works really well is related to international expansion. If you take a look at our portfolio, a significant percentage of our companies were able to grow and reach international success. The reason is very simple. Intel, if you take a look at Intel, Intel has an office pretty much in every country. And in every country, we have relationship with top players in every key relevant industry. So it's really difficult to match our ability to open doors to potential customers, to potential partners. And this actually is visible in performance of our portfolio companies. One other element is that if you take a look at technology landscape, Intel is one of the very few companies that doesn't have too many enemies. If you take a look at technology ecosystem landscape, generally there is a number of companies competing fiercely. So like, for example, teaming up with Apple probably would make it difficult for any company to have similar collaboration with Microsoft or Google, and vice versa. Teaming up with HP would make it difficult to have a deal with Lenovo or Acer, etc. All those companies are actually friendly to Intel. So our ability to facilitate introductions, to open doors, is probably bigger than any other company in technology segment, because of the simple fact that we don't really have many competitors, and we are generally friendly with absolute majority of relevant companies in technology in technology ecosystem. Some numbers. So last year, as you could do the math. So over the last 20 years, we invested over $11 billion. So roughly, we are investing like $300 to $500 million every year. Last year, we invested $333 million in 146 companies. And as you can see, roughly half of what we do takes place in the US. Obviously, mostly in the Silicon Valley. We are a Silicon Valley-rooted investor. Roughly a quarter of what we do takes place in Europe. And one other common misperception is that what we do has to be related to hardware. Actually, it's the opposite. Absolute majority of what we do is related to software, services, core technologies. Regarding our investment focus, at this point of time, we are investing heavily in areas of Internet of Things, security, new devices and wearables. We are very active in data center and cloud computing, but here we are actually very active on the software side, and specifically SaaS. We are also very active in smartphones and tablets segment, but once again, we are talking about software, services, features. Like for example, we are investing in new user experiences or perceptual computing. And as mentioned, we are also active in digital media, software and services. Actually, manufacturing and labs is one of the smallest areas of our interest. And also it's worth mentioning that Intel Capital is broadly recognized as the most active corporate venture. So once again, 2 weeks ago, last year we were named #1 global corporate venturing organization. We got the same title for 2014 2 weeks ago. And we are actually, according to multiple sources, we are also one of the most active investors in terms of in technology space, both in terms of investments and in terms of exits. For example, we have become the most active investor, the most active VC in the area of Internet of Things. Regarding 2014, this year, by the way, this number is as of end of May. So we are going to probably end June with 165 million invested roughly. And we are more or less targeting $300 to $400 million invested this year. So we are continuing the pace. In terms of exits, we believe we are one of the most successful investors in terms of exits, if not the most successful investor of exits. So in our 20-year history, we already had more than 200 IPOs. So 200 of our portfolio companies went public, and 350 companies roughly got acquired. So this is an amazing number. So if you can imagine, it's also incredibly large number as percentage of our investments. So altogether, we invested in roughly 1,200 companies. So you can see that out of the companies that we invested, already half of them reached either IPO or M&A, and we still have significant number, roughly 400 companies in our portfolio. So hopefully, and this number is basically growing every quarter. I would like to highlight here a couple of exits coming from our region. Actually, we are very proud to be part of a number of Central Eastern European successes. You can see here AVG, which is a Czech security software company. We invested in AVG when it was still a relatively small company. Back in 2005, the company went public in 2012 at roughly $1 billion valuation. LogMeIn, Hungarian company that we invested in when the company was a startup. It's basically a software for remote PC management. The company went public. It was 2008. It was, I believe, one of the very few technology companies that were able to go public at this time. 2008 was a very difficult year for exits. The company went public at roughly $700 million valuation on NASDAQ. MOL.cz, which was acquired by Naspers. We invested in the company in 2008, which once again was a crisis year. The company got acquired by Naspers in 2012, also at significant valuation, giving investors and the founders very, very significant success. A number of other companies I would mention is for example, Yandex, our first exit in Russia. The company where we invested when the company was a startup back in 2003. In 2010, the company went public at valuation of $10 billion. Another success locally or from neighboring country, Centrum, a Czech search engine. We invested at seed stage. The company had 2 employees. And the company went public at triple-digit million euro valuation in 2008. So once again, we have very solid track record in terms of exits, including very solid track record in our region. What do we do to support our companies? So basically, we are value-added investor. So for us, the most important asset that we have is our brand, our reputation, and ability to. There's no better way to strengthen our brand than to provide to be a good investor and provide support to our portfolio companies, and this is what we do. So as mentioned, we open doors to customers. We provide technological support. We share insights and strategic guidance regarding growing the business. We support M&A and exit discussions, which is understandable for most entrepreneurs. Most entrepreneurs go through one, maybe a few exits in their lifetime. We already went through over 500 exits. We have a lot of expertise and a lot of relationship with stock exchanges, with M&A that can help to maximize the valuation, the value of the company at exit. We do all of that and some specific actions that we do. So some of those activities are actually structured. And one specific activity I would like to mention is called Intel Capital Technology Days. Basically what we do is our Intel Capital business development team, they approach some of the top companies globally, and they sit down with them and check, okay, what are your technology needs? What kind of technology purchases, purchases you're planning in the next year or so? And we sit down with them, we understand their technology needs, and then we screen our portfolio, and we are looking for portfolio companies that are able to supply software services, products, technologies that are matching the needs of those big companies. And then under Intel Capital umbrella, we have one day or a few day meeting where basically our portfolio companies are able to meet decision makers. The follow-up rate is tremendous. So it's over 70%. And it really shortens up the time from to get revenue. And as you can see the list, every year we organize almost 100 of Intel Capital Technology Days with top companies like, you can see some of the names here. And it is a very valuable tool in getting customers for startups that normally would find it difficult to even have a meeting with decision maker in many of those companies. I would like to make this presentation as interactive as possible. So maybe I should pause here for a moment and check whether there are any questions from the audience.
Yeah, sorry. Any questions from the crowd?
It doesn't have to be related to my presentation. You can ask me anything. AMA.
You Reddit. This is a Reddit live. Please ask him anything. Sorry. Can you wait just for the microphone? Just want to make sure that everybody understands. Sorry. Please state your name, please. Thank you.
My name is Peter. So any stage, does it mean also seed or pre-seed stage?
So we are stage agnostic. So we can invest in a startup. We can invest in a public company. So it's a function of being size agnostic. So we are also stage agnostic. Any other question?
So you're making my job much better than I actually do. So no, don't be sorry. That's the thing. You're doing better. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Alex from Foxy Task startup from Tri-City. I also worked a few years in Intel Technology Poland in Gdańsk, so I'm also from old Intel. I have a question regarding the software as a service, one of the categories you've shown on your presentation. Mm-hmm. Do you also have some recent investments or look for B2B software as a service solutions, or it's rather out of scope?
No, absolutely we do.
Okay.
It's one of the most active areas for us. So I would say that in our region, most recently we invested in Mango. Mango is a Russian telco switch as a service offered in the cloud in the SaaS model to SMEs. And this company is doing extraordinarily well. So they grew in 2 years, they grew from a couple of million to $25 million revenue. So this illustrates that this potential, I think, and this is just a local example. I think we don't have that many investments in this area in the region. We are looking at a couple at this point of time. Internationally, we have invested in multiple companies, probably a few dozens companies in this area.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it's pretty impressive because a lot of people, when they talk about, sorry to use the term, corporate VCs, they always look down because it looks less sexy, right? You have newer kind of VCs are much better at sometimes marketing themselves and make themselves look sexier. But I mean, if you look at, for example, Intel here, it's actually very valuable, and startups should not forget about this, especially in emerging markets where actually a lot of the money, VC money, comes from corporates and not from these new kinds of VCs. I mean, this is something I've seen in Asia, I've seen South America. So don't forget about corporate VCs, including Marcin here. I have time for one more question, if anyone wants to take a shot, though I cannot see anything because of the light again. Anyone else? Come on, it's not every day you can actually ask him questions, so if you want, otherwise I'll have to move on. So, yes, no. Are you going to stick around a little bit? Or?
Sure, I will be around, yeah.
Okay, so if you then, because maybe you're just shy, you can actually directly talk to him. He'll be sticking around for a bit. And on that, please applaud him. Thank you, Marcin. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much.